You can say your valuation is whatever it is, but until someone hands you a check for a certain part of the company, that's when you have a valuation. That's your valuation. Try to delay that as late as possible, because the more traction you have without it, the more the investors are impressed and want to be a part of it. You don't have to beg investors to invest in your early stage tech venture if you've got $10,000 a month in recurring revenue and customers, even if your team is tiny and about to break their bodies and minds working late hours and nights and weekends.
All right, welcome to the Who You Know Show by ClearPath Wealth Strategies, where who you know can make all the difference in your wealth, health, business, career, relationships, and life. I'm your co-host, Mark Elder, filling in for Trevor today. He's sick, so sends his regards, and keep him in your thoughts and prayers as he recovers there. We've got something super special for you guys. If you've ever dreamed of launching a startup, or if you're fascinated by the energy of live pitch events, this episode is for you. We are talking all about CodeLaunch, an incredible opportunity for entrepreneurs. It's a mix of startup competition, tech trade show, high energy networking, and it's creating big opportunities for y'all. Our guest, Jason
And
W.
concert.
Taylor.
It's part
and
concert.
the concert. Oh, the concert too. Yes, don't forget that. He's the president and founder of CodeLaunch. It's been going on for years. And he's here to give us the inside scoop of CodeLaunch, what it is, how it's empowering startups, and what's in store for the upcoming event, the World Championship on November 20th. So, plus, exciting news, the Who You Know Show will be at the event. We'll be live interviewing speakers, the leaders, and the winners from the event. So stay tuned. Well, Jason, thanks for jumping in here with us. Appreciate you coming down to the studio today. And just want to hear a little bit more about CodeLaunch, maybe give us, what the origin of it was, how the, whole event got started, how you even maybe came up with the idea.
Okay. So here's the origin. It's 2012, and we're up in Frisco, and we're running the software development services business that I had started in 2001. So we're about 11 years in, and that business was called Code Authority. And our vision for Code Authority was that it would be the elite software development team where you hired Code Authority to build your next big edge technology and leading edge digital products. Now, at that point, I started to notice that some other companies that had been around about the same or even shorter had a higher status and visibility in our market here in North Texas. And I was still trying to fulfill that vision for our brand. So I started thinking we need to have a highly visible impact event on our community. And that would help bring attention to what we can do at Code Authority. And so me and my partners came up with what we called it at first, which was, let's have a contest. Take people's app ideas, find the one that seems like the most viable and within reason, like we could probably build that quickly. And let's build the app for that person for free. And now we're going to show off our capability. We're going to do something generous for the community. We're going to help a tech startup founder. And it'll be the beginning of something that we'll see how it goes. So we did it. And unfortunately, when people were like, what's this called? And I would say, it's the Code Authority App Idea Contest.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. So after we did it, it came time to decide, are we going to do this again? Because we need to have an annual cadence. It can't be a one-time thing. We want to build momentum. We want to build interest and develop our brand and see where it goes. And so we realized we had to come up with a brand. So we called our event in the second year in 2013, we called it CodeLaunch. So Code Authorities, CodeLaunch. Perfect. And we're off and rolling. That year was the first year we had an audience and actually made an event out of it. With the City of Frisco's help, Frisco EDC was very supportive and had our backs and helped us with a venue at very little or almost no cost, which at the time was the Intech Technology Center, which is now turned into part of the UNT Frisco campus.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, so we had our event, and then we took applications online. We built the tools for that. We got applications from all over Texas, not just our home market, but Houston and other places. And we knew that we were onto something, which is that tech founders and hopeful tech founders, and maybe sometimes first-time founders, they have what they believe in is a disruptive digital product concept that could be a very successful and lucrative venture. But that digital product part is the hardest part about it. It is expensive to build a world-class user experience, effective digital product like an app or an application you use in a browser or any other digital software product that requires code. It's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of cheap ways to do it, and those are fraught with pitfalls that trap people all the time. And so we were trying to save someone from that tragic first step, which dooms their trajectory.
Right. So like somebody has an idea, they go to start developing it for a go-to-market strategy, and they get into maybe a relationship or an environment where they don't own it, perhaps, or they don't have...
There's a ton of pitfalls there. Like
yeah.
You can hire a sister's brother's cousin.
Yep.
And then sister's brother's cousin finds out, oh my gosh, I have to work all night and all weekend on this all the time, or we're never going to get there. And then they'll just kind of like go dark instead of telling you no.
Yep.
Or you'll fall prey to some sort of cheap offshore solution, which, offshore solutions are doable if you know what you're doing. You know how to manage an offshore team. You know all the parts and the process of building a digital product life cycle.
Right, like a product owner
Yeah.
role.
like you have a product owner on your team. Great. You might be able to pull that off. But many people end up not. So went along pretty nice for a few years.
How many people did you have at that first one?
Oh, the first one I show a little video of it when I'm on stage at every code launch.
Okay.
Because it's such a small little thing. It was about 60 people, and at least 20 were employees of Code Authority.
Okay.
Another 12 were the founders themselves, like the final four.
Yeah.
4 or 5 judges, a couple of speakers, like Frisco EDC people, and then I think we actually had like 9 random attendees from the world.
Okay. Just stragglers that came in.
And that's when I realized, man, it's going to be hard to produce an event that people want to come to. It's not just because it's interesting to me and interesting to these founders and interesting to the city of Frisco doesn't mean that it's attractive for people to take time out of their day and come to it.
Right.
So we started revving up the entertainment part of it.
Okay.
Right away. And second year, third year, fourth year, CodeLaunch 4 in 2016, City of Frisco, I had said we need a bigger event where we can do some lighting and we need some stage production and we need music and I wanted to make this a spectacle.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we have an opportunity over here at the Dr. Pepper Arena. We can hook you up in there. So we had our first big arena event in the Dr. Pepper Arena, which seats 10,000 or 9,000 people.
Yeah.
And I think we had about 500 at that one.
Okay. That's a pretty good crowd.
And at that particular code launch, there were some amazing startups on stage that have become something. One of them is called Style Row. Google stylerow.com.
Okay.
That is a going concern that is going to be a very successful exit for its founder.
Nice.
And also on that stage was Park Up Front.
Okay.
Who have a big car community, all sorts of cars, but they kind of specialize in fancy supercars, but they have a big monthly event and have been doing that since 2016. Also on that stage was a company called Pros Rent. Pros Rent eventually launched, had 10 or 15 employees, millions of dollars in revenue, and was acquired and achieved the what we all try to achieve in startup ventures, which is an exit.
Yes.
So they were acquired, and investors got paid. So that was a really special group, the 2016, the 5 finalists that were on stage that day.
Yeah, that sounds like it was kind of like a, evolution into that venue, it sounds like, right? And growth and growing pains, I guess, along the way. I remember going to one of the events at the Dr. Pepper Arena at the time. It's called, I think, Comerica Center now, but
It's called Comerica Center now. Yeah, it's been rebranded.
But I remember I'm looking back towards the back of the venue, and Park Up Front was there, and there's these Lamborghini. I'm like, what does this have to like? That's cool, but I'm not sure like what is that? And so just learning more. The other side of it, what I think is very cool, is the process that the applicants and the competition actually go through. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Yeah,
so it evolved. Our show evolved. It became more of a live entertainment production.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's kind of a game show element to it now. And the startup founders, they begin filling out a form online, uploading their pitch deck. And a very unique thing about our accelerators, we require them to upload the mock-ups of what their product is supposed to look like. And a lot of them already have a product, and it's just messed up.
Okay.
Or they've parted ways with the developer, and they have no way to tackle the 5 most important things that need to get tackled right away.
Okay, so still a viable solution, idea, app or whatever. They're maybe hitting a roadblock at that point. Okay.
And so we want to know about their team. We want to know about we're looking for answers to questions that let us see their sophistication level, their maturity as a venture, not maturity as people, but as the venture. What stage is it at? Have they raised before from friends and family or from bona fide third parties? Do they have a valuation? How many users? How much revenue do they have? A lot of those questions. And we're going to choose the ones that look like we could help them. Mm-hmm. And we're going to let them into the cohort. And then over the next 6 weeks in the cohort, they compete to continue to go on through the process. And about every 2 weeks, we make cuts, and we end up at the final group of 6 that go on stage, and each of those 6 get a professional software development team. The software development team and the 6 founders pair up before the event, turn that product into a shimmering jewel of greatness, and then they come onto our stage in our live Venturetainment production, and now they have a whole new pitch, a whole new status. Hopefully there's investors and angels, VC types in the audience, seeing what we can do, how much polish we can put on ventures and make them attractive.
Venturetainment, is that something that you've coined?
I use it a lot, and I don't know if I coined it or if I saw somebody else reference it, but I realized it was us instantly. But yeah, what we say, we have an ad in the Dallas Business Journal, and it's like a, spectacular looking, and the only words you see on there besides CodeLaunch World Championship are live Venturetainment.
Okay. So it's out there.
We're the next generation in live Venturetainment.
I'm just going to call yours. You can claim that. Lots of tech, right? Lots of coding. Is it, and I think you had said something just in your last few statements there that made me ask, is it a lot of solopreneurs? Is it teams? Is it established companies?
So,
who do you see coming through?
We get a lot of those coming through. One of the things we do to solopreneurs is challenge them to accept the fact that being a solopreneur is going to hold them back. That's first on our list, is to look for the solopreneurs who we do like the rest of the bouquet, but that one flower is kind of getting brown. Because a solopreneur, unless it's someone, Elon Musk can be a solopreneur, right? Certain people can be a solopreneur all they want. But if you're going to need to go through rounds of funding and build traction, earn investors' trust and excitement to invest in you, you're going to need to have more than just the expertise that can be contained in one person. Mm-hmm. And this is especially prevalent in our technical founders. So some of our technical founders, they are their own technical co-founder because they can code.
Right. Yeah.
So they'll build a product. But what they need is a more other types of business expertise focused person. They may need a product owner. They may need a business development, community development, and person who can sell. Mm-hmm. So we find teams that cross a couple of or check a couple of boxes for us to be more attractive than just solopreneurs. So we give them a chance and a window to close that loop, and to document it with us. And sometimes they do, and usually what stops them from doing it is the fear and like perceived legal expense that it would take to let someone else in and have a piece of this beautiful thing that you're imagining in your head.
Right.
And we try to help them with that.
Do they have issues? Are there systemic concerns there with like NDAs or rights to the code or to the concepts?
Yeah, it's natural. It's just solopreneur has product vision in their head for some amount of time. Eventually, now they are like, I've got to build this. So there's a catalyst moment. They start to work on it. They put a bucket of sweat into it and time, and maybe they have launched it, and now it feels very nerve-wracking to let part of the equity in this venture go away.
Oh, yeah.
And what they're usually scared of is not getting it back. And there's...
As far as like ROI?
No, like they're scared of bringing in a new person. New person and them are happy for some amount of time, and then a year later, new person and them are toxic for some reason.
Gotcha.
And then now what do I do?
Yep. How
do I get this back? And these are all things that can be tackled in very simple legal constructs, and we try to help them with resources and the knowledge so that they can do that confidently. Mm-hmm. And if they get unhappy with a technical co-founder, they can find another one.
Yep. That brings up another good point. Non-technical founders, right? People that don't have that background or that skill set. Can you tell us about, maybe some technical non-technical founders who've come through the process and found success? You've helped?
I don't have all of their profiles memorized like that, but I can tell you this. A non-technical solopreneur is the other side of that coin, and it's just as doomed because building a world-class digital product is complicated, and it requires someone to be on your team who is invested in the goal and will work with passion, with great expertise, and relentlessly knows how to manage a software development project. So a product owner is a good technical co-founder, or an architectural super guru developer, or both.
Okay.
And I'll just say that the companies that we do see succeed the most are ones that they usually have, by the time they get through our program or by the time they get at our door, they've got 3, 4, or 5 people playing a role in the venture.
Now, is it a case of these companies, because they are at that point, right, have some kind of probably business structure, LLC, or maybe, I guess you can tell me, is that where they're at that point in time? So they're facing some of those maybe non-technical growing pains?
Some of the ventures that apply have their legal entity information already tackled. Especially if they've raised before, that's going to have had to be the case.
Okay.
Even if it's just friends and family raise, or even if it's just a safe note, which is a pre priced round. It's a construct for investing in a very early stage venture that we use a lot.
Okay.
Invented by Y Combinator.
Y Combinator.
Y Combinator is the most recognizable and premier accelerator in the world, probably, until CodeLaunch takes over.
Yes, I love it.
So, but yeah, really great construct that helps early stage founders raise without fear and without having to value their business.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of them have the entity information done. And I thought of an answer to your question.
Okay.
You asked me if there was a non-technical founder who lacked technical expertise who eventually succeeded. And oddly enough, it's Pros Rent from 2016 was the one I could just
Pros Rent, okay.
The one that built a team, add a lot of technical ability to the team, had a core member of the team who was an extremely good, experienced software developer. And that person managed software development resources who were employees or contractors. And that's the one that's exited.
Okay.
And they're actually going to be at CodeLaunch November 20th on stage to give us our ceremonial exit check.
Nice. Okay. So bringing it full circle.
Yeah, full circle. Yeah, you got to come out to Gillies on November 20th to watch this amazing creation that's been growing here in North Texas and now all over the world. And you will be entertained.
Now, I'm excited because Gillies, great spot, great venue. Is this the first year? Is it?
So this is our third year at Gillies.
Third year at Gillies. Okay, so third year at Gillies. Tell us a little bit about, what's going to happen there. What can people expect? Maybe with Gillies, right? How they're supporting you guys. Because it's a whole different venue than like a Coliseum event, like the basketball arena.
Yep. So the perfect size for a CodeLaunch venue is about 700 to 1,000 people. That's what we usually get. It also needs to be a concert venue because we realized that producing our show with all the lighting and the TVs, the stage set. I mean, we have smoke machines. We have occasionally we have laser beams.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of all that stuff takes money to bring it in somewhere that doesn't have it. Mm-hmm. But it's all sitting there at a concert venue. So this place used to be called Southside Ballroom. Mm-hmm. There was a sign you could see going down 30 over to your right. It would say Southside real big for years. It may even still be there, but that was the Southside Ballroom, and now it's Gillies, Dallas. And they have so much of that tech already built in, plus a team that can run the lighting. Mm-hmm. So behind the scenes and behind the curtain, there's a whole team calling out changes and getting ready for this mic, that mic. And, we have a MC, we have a few speakers. We'll have 8 finalists competing.
8 this year. Okay.
Yeah. 4 who've won their event, their preceding event already this year in Houston, Minnesota, Toronto, Canada, or Guadalajara, Mexico.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
And 4 others that were on those stages that essentially I handpicked.
Okay.
Because I know that they check all the investors' boxes. And maybe they didn't win that day, but they could win any day, and they could be invested in and be great ventures.
Cool.
So besides the CodeLaunch show, which is at 6, it's actually, like you said at the beginning, it's part conference, it's part concert. So it's part live TV show we call Venturetainment. At 4 is when doors open. If you get there by 4:30, you'll see Caracorder, which is one of our startups from 2019. They've been having their annual conference on our stage before we go on.
Okay.
So they're going to have their crew in there, and they're going to be revealing their brand new flagship product, like a version 3 of their product line, which received something like $700,000 in pre-orders on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And so they're going to have QuarterCon, which is the name of their conference. And we'll shoot that for them, and they're going to make these awesome videos that they're going to release throughout the year promoting their new product.
Now, will attendees have a chance to see all that?
Yeah,
be able to
everybody can watch that, and then we're going to have 55 exhibitors, all 8 of our finalists and many of our past year startups that are still going and going well. Mm-hmm. all the standouts will be there. Everybody that's been through CodeLaunch that's doing really well, they just can't wait to come to the next CodeLaunch. So,
I would imagine. Yeah, I hope they'd be there.
we'll have a bunch there that aren't competing on the stage from 2023 to 2019 period.
Okay.
And then we're going to have other brands and awesome exhibits who are just trying to launch their venture and make sure as many people know about it. Some of the startups that'll be there will be practicing pitching to people because it's something they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people find out about CodeLaunch 2 weeks before it's happening, and they'll say, "Wow, I didn't know this existed. When's the next one?" And I'll say, "Well, we're not sure when the next one is yet. We'll announce that in January, but here's a free table. Just come on out and do your thing and be another startup in the room and enjoy this."
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
we have a lot of exhibitors. We're going to have a lot of content on stage, plus the CodeLaunch show. I'm trying to nail down a musical act for the after.
Yeah. Okay.
And there
So
could
that'll be at 6,
the
7?
the CodeLaunch show starts at 6 sharp.
Okay.
So if you want to catch T-shirts from a T-shirt gun, you need to be there in the crowd at 5:55. And the show starts at 6. It'll be over by 7:40, and we'll know who the world champion is. And we're hoping that the musical act starts right there about 7:45 or 8,
Okay.
and we'll go till 9.
All right. You want to let them know who the musical act
I
is?
can't because I haven't. We just emailed back and forth Friday, and I wasn't sure if we had arranged a final
Gotcha.
commitment
Okay.
yet.
Gotcha. Okay. So, hey, you're going to get a surprise there. It'll be something good, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This is something that Trevor and I actually had talked about ahead of getting scheduled, which is, how the world is turning right now. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on. Tomorrow's election day, right? Conscious capitalism. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah.
And how that is integrated in with what CodeLaunch does, and how you're helping startups operate and develop.
Yeah, let me tell you how that came to be. So in 2019, we had done this 7 times, but we just did it once a year. And we realized we weren't going to help enough startups fast enough to really ever develop a portfolio of investable startups or develop a reputation of really having an impact. We would be having like a really neat, small impact once a year. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that has limits to it. So we decided we're going to have to get other software development companies that want to do this with us. We're going to have to make this more about the community and less about code authority, and more about the founders and the software developers themselves that are putting the time in to passionately code and build products and just give them to these founders to hopefully succeed with. Mm-hmm. And when we did that, one of the companies that was first to sign up to do it with us was called Improving. And so they got a full look of how it worked behind the scenes. They got to be a part of the show. They got to they got to see their brand compete against our brand and others who can build the best product for a startup. And they saw the potential of this CodeLaunch brand and what it could become. And they asked, that's when they asked me about acquiring CodeLaunch and Code Authority. And they asked me, have you ever heard of conscious capitalism? And I said, no. What's that? Got to be honest, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no clue.
And they go, well, check this out, consciouscapitalisminternational.org. We are heavily involved with this organization. Our CEO sits on the board, and it's part of our daily lexicon within the Improving family, and it's something that we set out to promote and to support every year. And this CodeLaunch event looks like the most electrifying visual example of conscious capitalism we could ever possibly imagine.
Sure, yeah, it's like the embodiment of it.
And yeah, there you go. It's the embodiment. So what it really is just it's a perspective that it is a change in perspective from maybe what just old school capitalism seems to preach, which is, greed is good, make as much money for yourself and others, and you're going to do everybody good. Well, that's kind of antiquated, and capitalism hasn't been very good at defending itself, even though it's responsible for every single thing that we use in this room right now that we're doing this podcast in, and the building that we're in. We would never be at this evolution level as a human race without capitalism. So the guy that coined the term is John Mackey, the original founder of Whole Foods. And sometime toward the latter end of his career, he decided to document the change in perspective that he had from when he founded Whole Foods in Austin to what it became. And he came up with that term, conscious capitalism. And really what it really is realizing that there's a bigger community of people who benefit from your business directly, and they're called stakeholders. It's not just all about your stockholders. So at every CodeLaunch event, we bring together a community of investors, technology people, and startup founders, and businesses who are creating products or services for small business and people in early stage growth businesses. We bring them all together in a community at an event to uplift everybody. And those are our stakeholders. And then there's also others, like we're very involved with universities, academia, STEM students, STEM teachers.
Okay.
Municipalities like the city of Frisco, and other groups. And so those are our stakeholders. And at every event, we talk a little bit about conscious capitalism and hope we turn a few people onto it.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things I think is just keeping in mind the social impact that your business can have, not just the product itself, right? But that your business can have in its community, right?
Yeah, and I had realized over time, this is 2019, right? As we started the show, I talked to you about starting this in 2012. I had realized that doing this CodeLaunch event was achieving the original goal. By generously giving expensive and high-quality software development to an early-stage founder once a year, we were developing a much bigger profile. Our brand was growing. We were recruiting easier. We were developing a culture in the room of people that were there such that they wanted to stay there. So our retention was strong. And we were even developing new opportunities in business. People would hear about CodeLaunch and decide, that's cool. Code Authority, we want you to build this new product. So by practicing conscious capitalism unconsciously, our business was growing in every direction.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you were already involved in it. You just maybe hadn't.
I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah.
And so I'm really happy to be a part of CodeLaunch and improving and our dedication to conscious capitalism now. And I'm really so excited by how far it's come and where it's going.
Yeah. Now, do you see, and you'd said, okay, so we're working with, not just businesses, startups, but universities, academia. How many participants do you see? Do you see a lot of participation from, young kids that are, maybe in the later stage of their, college careers that have products that are doing these things, that they're involved, they're bringing products and applications to CodeLaunch?
Yes, we do. We have a student founder category.
Okay.
Because we give them a special set of criteria because they're different from an experienced professional and a few other experienced professionals getting together and trying to put a startup venture together that's investable. So we do have student founders. Occasionally, one of them makes it all the way to the stage when they're very impressive. Usually, there was one here in Dallas last year. 3 Frisco high school students made the stage at CodeLaunch DFW 2023.
Nice.
It's happened a few other times. Yep. They do have more bridges to cross to reach the funding stage where like an actual VC fund would really deploy capital. It's not going to be high school in most cases. It's going to be later stage, upper level college, and they're usually going to have some business people. Those that type of profile is usually a better part of the technical team of a startup than the business leadership.
Right. Yeah, you've got like a developer or somebody who can do the code.
And one of the biggest reasons is because really talented young technical brains have less complicated things in their lives that allow them to bust their butt and put in hard, long hours.
Yeah.
And not have any of the same difficulties you or I would have if that.
Right.
That.
Yeah, like I got 10, 8, and 6-year-olds right now, so yeah, that's not happening for me.
Yeah. So there's a window there where a young adult can be a super productive Swiss Army knife of a teammate on an early stage venture.
Yeah, that's
but it starts
cool.
to close as soon as they get married and have babies and have a mortgage. And
yeah, right. Yeah,
things.
they got to go out and crush it like right out of the blocks, right? They got to jump into it. That's super cool. I think that in most cases, right, people think about, and those who are aware of CodeLaunch, me included, think about coding, about software development, things like that. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the alternatives, some of the maybe, I don't know if it would be under the non-technical side, but like more of like tangible products that are created through CodeLaunch?
Well, the first thing about CodeLaunch is it is for ventures that require, at the heart of it, a technical product that requires coding.
Right.
But that does not always mean an app. And it does not always mean a web-based application you use on a computer screen. In the case of Caracorder, who is having their QuarterCon conference here 5 years after they competed at CodeLaunch 2019, they came to CodeLaunch originally with a innovative new keyboard, a new way of interfacing with a computer in your hands that no one had ever thought of. Literally an invention.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't have enough of the software tools that went with it to make it a marketable product, like a training tool.
Right, okay.
And like device drivers for more than one computer type. So they entered the competition and they brought in a Caracorder prototype that was all 3D printed but worked, except for it needed more and better software to connect to the computer.
Okay.
So it's a physical device. So it's like a Internet of Things sort of type product. Mm-hmm. But we were able to advance it, and now it's literally profitable last year.
Yeah.
Like it's a great venture.
That's great. I'm thinking about, like in Austin a few weeks back, right? Elon brought out his robots and his gal or whatever he had, the launch or the public face of that. And it got me to thinking, like, what else, to your point, is out there that's a physical, tangible thing that requires code, a literal invention, right?
There's so many things. There's so many things these days. I mean, the cameras right there.
Right.
Have software running in them. The mixing board over there has software running in it. Mm-hmm. There's so many incredible things. The newfangled thermostats that go in your house.
Yep.
Tremendous amount of software development in those.
So are you guys getting applications and products like that?
We do. We get them occasionally.
Very cool.
Another one that we had was a grill that's designed to compete against Traeger.
Okay.
So a wood pellet grill.
Software, right? Yeah.
But it would come built in with the whole temperature control mechanism. Mm-hmm. So more electricity if it's getting low, and then less if it's getting hot, and also a way to connect to Wi-Fi and show you that on your phone the whole time.
Yep.
But this guy had a grill out on the stage, and he wore a chef hat and
okay.
And a apron with this logo on it, and he came out there and gave his pitch.
I might need to talk to him, okay? Because I've got a Traeger, and it's got the Wi-Fi, but I can't get it connected.
Here's the best part. It doesn't have to plug in.
Okay. Oh, it doesn't have to plug in?
No, because this guy worked for NASA, and he understood thermodynamics and how with a certain type of you could create enough fire to light the pellets without electricity as a source.
Oh my gosh.
using the same technology that's in like Voyager 2.
Okay.
Yeah. No, like it was, we loved it. We loved it.
Yeah.
Didn't win that day.
Okay.
Who did he go against? I think he went against the teachers, kids, 3G strong
Okay.
that day. And they had a bunch of students in the crowd. So
They just blew it out of the
he's from
water.
California and they were from Frisco.
Okay.
It's hard to beat the hometown.
Yeah.
Startup.
Hometown advantage. Yep.
The crowd chooses the winner,
Yeah.
as they will on November 20th at Gillies.
Yep.
And so will you. If you're there, you'll be a part of the crowd that chooses the world champion. So for the first time, we're going to let the investors choose separately.
Okay.
Yeah, the investors will allocate $15,000 from the CodeLaunch and Improving Fuel Fund to their choice. The judges will allocate $10,000, and the audience will allocate $25,000 and the world championship belt.
Awesome. Okay, so you could still achieve what you want to achieve, get maybe some VC or something, right, and win one section or one portion,
Yeah,
and still, right, come out on top.
we could have up to 3 winners.
3 winners, yeah. Okay. What time should people get there?
You know, I think you should make a late afternoon, day, evening of it. You should get there at 4. Check out all the exhibits and trade shows. You know, there'll be lots of swag and getting free stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not going to be your usual boring, like, hey, sign up for our insurance program. It's not,
yeah.
hey, does your pool need to get fixed?
Yeah,
It's not
do you
that.
need a mortgage?
They're like innovative new products that you may have never even thought of or thought it could exist.
Yeah.
It's a great place to network, who you know.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you.
What? It's all about who you know. What?
It's a lot about that. Like if you are interested in this space, maybe thinking you're ready for a change, you'd like to join an early stage venture that's got some funding and maybe be a part of something bigger than just being someone's employee. Like maybe you've been over and over and you're not happy with that path.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, coming to CodeLaunch is where you can find people that are looking for teammates.
I'm gonna invite my brother and my brother-in-law.
There you go. You should.
Yep. So both are in tech. So yeah.
And we have a promo code for your audience today. So
yeah. Let's get that.
the promo code is CLWYK. So CodeLaunch, who you know.
Oh snap! CodeLaunch, who you know.
CodeLaunch, who you know.
WYK.
COWYK. That's the promo code that will give you free general admission tickets for you and your
Nice.
brother and your brother's brother.
Nice. All right, you heard it right here. Get in for free. You've got no excuse.
No excuse.
4:00, thereabouts. Get in there.
Exhilarating, uplifting, inspiring, great networking, and you're not going to be sure if you're at a conference or a concert.
Yeah. Food? Is there gonna be food there?
Yes, there's food provided
Okay.
by Gillies.
Nice. Okay.
Super hamburgers and hot dogs and nachos.
There you go. What about? Okay, so I'm.
That's why you come early. So you while you're checking out the exhibits,
Yeah, grab a bite.
grab a bite, and now you're good. Get a couple of drinks, and then sit down and enjoy the show, and then stay for as long as you want after 7:40. Or if you want to go to Uptown and have a fancy dinner, you can do that about 8:00.
Oh well, yep. There you go too. What about? So I've got this idea, right, Jason, and it's this piece of technology. I'm not quite sure, what else it's need. I've done some development on it.
You're telling a true story right now, right? This is
Well,
not
yeah,
hypothetical?
true story.
Yeah. Everybody has this.
I'm trying to crush it, right, and go to market and retire. We're trying to sell.
Yeah. Let's go.
What piece of advice would you give me?
Okay, is this really a true story?
No, this is.
it really you?
I do have some inventions brewing around up here. They're not necessarily as tech, right? Probably as what CodeLaunch needs.
Okay. Well, I'll just say, I'll kind of just explain our curriculum during the competition phase. We're looking for the following criteria. Someone who can sell, who's got some charisma and can speak in a setting that's, not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Standing
comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, comfortable in their own skin and can stand in a boardroom and talk about this business venture and convince other people. And so when we get to the pitch meeting part of this, we're looking for salesmanship.
Sure.
Communication skills.
Sure. Well, that's how the world
A little
turns,
bit of charisma, and then at that point we've already know about the venture. The venture sounds viable. It sounds interesting and new. There's a reason to believe that you could build a massive market out of this product. So that's one. If that's not you, you're going to need that person on your team. And if that is you, you're going to need a super competent technical person on your team. So definitely at least have both those bases covered at the beginning. The third thing, do not hide in, what do they call that? In startups, they use a space movie name for hiding who they are until it's time.
Okay.
I want to say coming out of warp, but that's Star Trek.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's Star Trek lexicon. It's the other one.
The
like
hyperdrive?
It's something like that. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I was blanking right now. But startup founders will keep it a secret way longer than they have to because they're afraid their full-time job may fire them or something.
Okay.
And unless you know that they're going to fire you because they have some kind of arrangement, or like maybe you got hired and they knew you were entrepreneurial and they asked you not to do other ventures, et cetera, I don't think you should be afraid of that.
Yeah. Or maybe is it a case in, I don't know, I'm just speculating here, but if they're developing something on a company time or whatever, right? Then
if
what about intellectual property?
You definitely don't want your employer to think you're using their time to work on your product.
Yeah.
And if you're an entire work from home person, that can create an environment of mistrust, which is one of the problems with it. But if you are a work in the office person, you probably aren't going to have to worry about that. So maybe you just decide to be a work in the office person if you're going to, so that you can be out there in public with it and they can trust you and you can put the effort in a moonlighting basis. So have those two bases covered and have your digital marketing polished and talk about what you're doing. Don't be afraid that someone's going to steal your idea. It's another fallacy. Human beings don't go around stealing other people's business ideas at the beginning stage like this because they're an enormous amount of effort to get them started and to make it work. It's years and years and a bucket of sweat the whole time to get there. And sometimes we have founders that are like, I don't want to say everything. I don't want to give away the secret sauce on stage. And all that does is make sure they lose.
Okay. So if I'm hearing you right, like by the time they're there, sharing what they're doing, they're so far ahead of the curve than somebody that would steal it at that point, right?
People aren't going to... Everybody, it's human nature. People are never so enamored with your idea that they decide to just take up your track and outdo you. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
It happens in big business, right? Big business that have they're competing over the same product space. They try to outdo each other. That's different. I literally have never seen, no one has ever complained about that happening in the CodeLaunch community. And I'm going on like 12 years.
Yeah.
And this will be, I think, our 21st event. I don't think it's a reasonable fear.
Okay.
A concern.
Fair. Yeah.
Another thing is you need to have your formation set up, and you need to have some accounting. You need to use a safe note at the beginning if you do a friends and family raise.
Okay.
Don't include friends and family that shouldn't be investing in you because they're going to be stressy.
Yeah, asking you like, hey.
Like these need to be people that understand that they're probably saying goodbye to this money for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. How long is it going to take? Well, we're shooting for 7, but you should be prepared to not have a return for 10 years. That's what you should say.
Yeah. Isn't it, not exactly, but isn't that kind of like what Bezos, right, told his investors early on? Like,
I don't know what he told them, but
not exactly, but like, hey, you got to be in this with me. Like, you may not see a return on this.
Yeah,
for a while.
The one of the reasons that the going interest rate market has a big impact on early stage venture raises is the 10-year U.S. Treasury note,
Yeah. Okay.
which is the bellwether for long-term risk capital. So, right now it's up around 4.2, 4.3 again. It was coming down to
Yep. Yeah.
got down below 4 for a
rates
while.
follow it, right?
But it's not going to come down to back what it was until the Fed is able to consistently lower it because inflation is totally squashed and economic conditions necessitate it, right?
Yep.
Ain't going to happen. So people that have large sums of funds that they can put into an early stage allocation are looking at that. Okay, do I want to get 4.37 annually for 10 years and have every bit of my principal back plus the 4.37 guaranteed? Or do I want to say goodbye to it and get maybe none of it back,
Right.
or maybe many times more of it back?
Right. Speculative, for sure.
And so I would always do a friends and family raise with a safe note and try to delay a priced round raise, which actually creates your first true valuation.
Okay.
You can say your valuation is whatever it is, but until someone hands you a check for a certain part of the company, that's when you have a valuation.
Right.
And that's your valuation. Try to delay that as late as possible.
Okay.
As late as possible, because the more traction you have without it, the more the investors are impressed and want to be a part of it.
Cool.
So you don't have to beg investors to invest in your early stage tech venture if you've got $10,000 a month in recurring revenue and customers, even if your team is tiny and about to, break their bodies and minds working late hours and nights and weekends.
You'll get investors.
The investors are going to see that and like it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you're going to get a better valuation when it matters.
Yep. Applying. So somebody's interested, right? Coming to the event, they're like, "Man, I got something." How do they get started? They're applying now, right? Because it's a process. There's a cohort or a journey that they go through.
Yeah. So this year we had this is our 5th event. So we had a competition that was open to anybody in the U.S. and the event was held in Houston in February. And then we had another one that was open to anybody in the U.S. and their event was in Minnesota in May. And we do them regionally like that because you do have to travel in to be at if you make it all the way to the top 6, you're going to have to be at the stage on your own cost. Mm-hmm. We don't take any money or take any equity to help these people.
Okay.
That's an important thing about CodeLaunch. We literally there's no strings attached in any way at all. They get the source code for free. Everything is theirs. But if they live in California and they make the top 6 and it's in Minnesota, they're going to have to fly to Minnesota on their own dime. So people will generally apply to the ones that are closer to them.
Okay.
Then we have one in Toronto, and then we have one in Mexico, and they were for Canada's founders and Mexico's founders. And that's how we get to our World Championship. We have not set our 2025 schedule yet because we didn't realize how hard it was going to be to have 5 events in one year. And I got to be honest, literally, it's just barely a template floating around in my head right now.
Okay.
But it's the first order of business after the CodeLaunch World Championship on November 20th.
On the 20th, okay.
So when everybody else is taking off those 3 days to make a sweet 10-day vacation for Thanksgiving, I'm going to get the pencil out and figure out how to have another World Championship and cross some new bridges with the CodeLaunch community in North America next year.
That's why you're sitting right here right now. So and so what's next? A lot of tech, right? Korea, Japan. China, I mean, what's your next international play?
Well, Improving is our parent company, and they acquired us for a reason. And it's because they were already a much bigger version than us. And they were already growing through acquisition. And they have continued to grow through acquisition. And one of CodeLaunch's jobs is to go into the markets where we acquire and exemplify conscious capitalism, our culture and values for this new group of people. And I think we do that well, but we kind of have to go and produce our events near or in the new markets that we've acquired new business family in. So about half the markets, so improving is acquiring at a little faster rate than we can produce events. Our most recent one was about 2 weeks ago, and no big deal. They're just located in Argentina and Chile.
Okay.
So when I say CodeLaunch World Championship, I mean it.
Yeah. Yeah. Phenomenal. Man. All right. So we're getting down to time here. I definitely want to, give you time to plug everything. But one last question. For anybody out there who's got that idea, right? And we kind of talked about this in part, but who's hesitant to take the plunge, what's maybe the most important thing that you need to tell them about starting their journey and getting into the startup world?
The most important thing to tell them, tech startup, number one is the team. You have to have someone on that team who has a high degree of technical competence over the product itself and can manage any type of developers working in it and also have their own hands in the code. For example, if you become a finalist at CodeLaunch, you get to put that person on the team with the pros. So you have an extra teammate working on the hackathon to make that product even better, and then that person takes all that knowledge from those pros with them, plus the relationship. And sometimes those develop into business relationships.
Yep.
And I think having that person on your team, and then also, if you are that person, realizing you're going to have the other side of that coin on your team. A experienced business person who has some skins on the wall, who has demonstrated a high level of execution, has a vast area of networks, maybe is a strategic teammate. Like, let's say Caracorder was starting now, and Riley, the founder, he's kind of his own technical founder guy. He was super technical, visionary, and has some awesome other good on camera too. He's got a whole bouquet, but he, let's say he wanted to add a business-focused teammate. What if he was able to poach somebody from Logitech's executive team? Now that's a strategic teammate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone who already knows the entire space of peripheral devices for computing and how they get to the shelf at Best Buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's super important. And, in many aspects of life, right? It's not about what you can do. It's about what the people that you surround yourself with can do together, right? And that's that kind of back to conscious capitalism, right? I mean, the community part of it, having that community.
You're going to have to find synergies with other great people to have a great startup venture. You just are. And so don't be afraid. That's one of the reasons you can't. Oh, stealth. I couldn't think of the word stealth a while ago.
Okay.
You're not going to stay in stealth forever. You're going to come right out of stealth and be proud of what you're doing. Tell as many people as you can, because you have to realize something. Most people want to do what you're trying to do and never do it. And they will genuinely you will not expect it, but they'll be inspired and want to help you. And people will come out of the woodwork going, wow, I saw that thing you're talking about, and that's really neat. Hey, I know this person who might want to join your team. Cool things like that will happen if you come out of stealth. So, yeah, be prepared to have a team. and then be prepared to put in a bucket of sweat.
As I think the fourth or fifth time you've said that. I love it.
Yep.
Right? Sweat equity, just put in that bucket of sweat.
It's just going to take time, and you're going to have to do it when you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And the people around you are going to have to support you when it takes you away from them.
Yep. And even, I think what's important is even when you think that you're not going to make it, you just have to press on. You just
got to keep going.
Yep.
You got to keep going until someone turns the lights off and locks the door out, and you're standing outside of the building.
Yeah, you got to, and I say this in our industry too, like in the financial services industry, because there's a lot of attrition, right? Big washout rate. But you can't quit. Don't quit. You cannot quit. If you fail, you fail, right? You can't quit. If it's your dream, and you can't quit it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll feel so much better about yourself if you get to the end and the venture idea failed than if you get to almost to the end and you quit because it got hard.
Yeah. What a tragedy. Cool. Well,
nobody wants to live with that.
All right, well, let's get some plugs in. Websites. I mean, we know it's at Gillies. It's November 20th. Be there around 4 p.m.
CodeLaunch.com.
Okay.
Or you can just search for CodeLaunch World Championship. You'll see it. I got you a promo code, CLWYK, CodeLaunch, who you know. That promo code, you punch that in there, you will get free general admission tickets. This event is super great for all the groups I mentioned on the podcast, but there's one I didn't, which is parents of middle school and high school students who are showing a serious interest in either software development or entrepreneurial-minded ventures. And, those kind of kids, they're everywhere. They're at every high school. And they usually make pretty good grades, or sometimes they make bad grades because they're consumed with just going off on their own and doing something.
Right.
But the parents are the ones that are like, wow, what do I do with this? What do I do with my promising ninth grader?
Yeah.
I get people walk up to me and send emails to us after they've brought in their kids to CodeLaunch and like platitudes. Thank you. My child needed to see how the business of business works, and that there is a real space, and there are platforms for startup founders to be seen, to grow, and to launch, and then to have a chance to go to the market. And your STEM students or your promising STEM students, grab some free tickets, bring them down to CodeLaunch, and watch their eyes get real big and their minds begin to bloom.
I love that, man. Jason, that's an awesome plug right there. My kid, my 10-year-old.
There you go.
Right? Would be a fantastic venue for him. So maybe we'll see if mom can bring him. Since I'll be busy with the show and all that. Guys, hey, it's time. So thank you for tuning in. Do not miss CodeLaunch World Championship 2024 on November 20th. It's at Gillies, where the Who You Know show will also be live, bringing you interviews with top speakers, industry leaders, competition winners. Head over to CodeLaunch website where you secure your tickets. Get ready for an unforgettable experience. And don't forget to subscribe to the Who You Know show for more inspiring episodes. Thank you all. That's the show. It's all about who you know.
Live Venturetainment.
Woo!
Thanks for listening to the Who You Know Show podcast. My name is Trevor Houston, and if you've enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing wherever you listen and leave us a positive review to help us keep the mics on in the studio. Until next week, that's the show. It's all about who you know.